That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The School for Good and Evil, the 10th film directed by Paul Feig, which Netflix is releasing October 19th, 2022.
Do I know a Paul Feig movie?
Yeah, well, probably Bridesmaids.
Oh, okay.
Was a big breakthrough, which I think was his fourth film. He also, of course, did Spy and The Heat with Melissa McCarthy and the female-led Ghostbusters reboot from 2016. We reviewed his last feature, actually, last Christmas, that bizarre...
With the George Michael soundtrack?
George Michael soundtrack and Emilia Clarke, who's very similar to one of the leads in this film, stature-wise. I believe Paul Feig is a good director, but I did like A Simple Favor with Blake Lively. I can't say the same for this. This was a chore to sit through.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked at how much I didn't like this movie because the cast is very impressive. And from the trailer, it looked like it would be sort of, at the bare minimum, sort of like a big budget fantasy extravaganza with really cool people in it. But this story is...
Well, it's based on a series of by Soman Chainani, who also contributed to the screenplay, which was also co-written by David Magee, who wrote things like Life of Pi, an adaptation, Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day, and the Mary Poppins Returns film. So it seems, based on the popularity of the series and who's behind the scenes, that something would have popped off in this 2.5-hour saga.
2.5 hours. And when I tell you by the time it was done, I couldn't have cared less about any of these characters. I'm assuming that this movie is a mashup of maybe more than one of the books.
I'm not sure.
But, yeah, I don't know. But it just felt like, I don't know whose story we would follow. I guess the two leads. But we should tell the basic story. So... It's set in like old-timey times. I don't know, like the 1800s?
Medieval times, the Middle Ages.
Okay.
Prior to the 1800s, yes.
Okay, there are twin brothers. And they're good and evil. They know magic. And they have this magic with the idea that if they want to stay immortal and maintain their power, they need to find a balance between good and evil. They have to get along. And they've created this school, a school for good and a school for evil. And this is the opening of the film. We're told that the evil brother, and spoiler alert, because we don't learn this till the end, the evil brother kills the good brother and then pretends to be him and runs both schools. And really what he's trying to do is indoctrinate the good with bad. So we see that the good students are learning good things, but they're always sort of like...
It's vapid and superficial.
Yeah, mm-hmm. So they're really not... Like, when we actually finally meet all the good students, they're kind of assholes.
Yeah,
it's the evil kids who are actually more likable. Mm-hmm. But they're still bad. But I'm just saying, I think from our perspectives, they were easier to watch. Okay. But the real focus is on these two friends, Sophie and Aggie. Sophie is played by...
Sophia and Caruso.
And Aggie's played by...
Sophia Wylie. The tale of two Sophies. Sophias.
They're best friends. Mm-hmm. They have pretty shitty childhoods. This movie feels like if you mix Harry Potter with Cinderella.
Or Beauty and the Beast.
Specifically for Sophie, because she wants to be a princess. Mm-hmm. And we can get into how she looks, but they keep saying she has this beautiful hair. I thought that wig looked terrible, but they...
Yeah, the other Aggie has the beautiful hair.
Yeah. But Sophie wants to be a princess... But she has like a shitty life. Her parents don't really respect her.
Well, her mom's dead.
Well, her mom's dead, and then living with the dad, like the siblings aren't kind to her necessarily. And then Aggie, everyone in the village thinks she's like a witch.
Because her mother might be.
Even to the point where she's out one day and like an adult man confronts her with a knife like he's going to kill her. Mm-hmm. And she gets away like, haha, no big deal. Anyway, one day Sophie and Aggie go to a bookstore run by Patty Lupone, and she shares with them a copy of Cinderella that has a stamp in it from the School for Good and Evil. And she tells them about it and says like, yeah, I think like the lore is if you write a letter and post it to a tree, they'll come for you the next day.
But the school has published all of the notable fairy tales.
So Sophie, not telling her best friend Aggie, writes the letter. But she does tell her friend, I have to get out of this village, so I'm leaving tomorrow. But her friend is onto her, so intercepts her like that night. And then the creature that's coming to take Sophie ends up taking both of them.
That has also taken another woman from the village previously.
Yeah, which is important to know. Well, we might as well say it. That's where Charlize Theron's character came from, but we'll explain that. They both get to the school, but the creature drops Sophie off at the evil school and drops Aggie off at the good school. But from our perspective, 20 minutes in, one would think that it should be opposite.
It's like one's the front entrance to the building and one's the back entrance.
Because they coexist, so it's not like one's in heaven and one's in hell. It's like when you go eat at the KFC Pizza Hut and you could order from the same counter. Like, I don't understand. But we're told that... So one plot point is that Sophie wants to be a princess. She wants to be on the good side. So then she's told by the headmaster, who's the evil brother, but no one knows he's evil, that if she can...
Played by Laurence Fishburne.
Played by Laurence Fishburne as an adult, that if she can find true love's kiss, she'll be able to make that transition. So there's a lot of that happening. But in the process, it's very basic. Like, the two friends become jealous. Namely, Sophie's jealous of Aggie because the boy she wants to love loves Aggie.
Tedros, played by Jamie Flatters.
So everything culminates with the evil brother like making his he tells everyone he's there. So everyone knows what's going on.
Rafal. He has chosen Sophie because he believes she has the right exquisite powers to be his equal.
He believes that she's truly evil and that in order for him to have full power, he needs to have true love's kiss. So he does.
Which feels
he and
weird.
Sophie fall in love in like one scene.
Which feels weird because the presentation of Rafal thus far, I was assuming he was a homosexual.
Yeah, that was odd. So now, because Sophie and Rafal, which is played by Laurence Fishburne, but when they kiss, reverts back to the younger gentleman.
Kit Young, yeah.
He gets all the power, but the gag is he wants like evil.
Not fairy tale evil.
Not a fairy tale evil. So he destroys everyone. So of course Sophie's mad, like, no, I wanted to be a part of this. These are my friends. Even though she's been awful the entire movie. And then Aggie is trying to stop him. And as Rafal is trying to kill Aggie, Sophie jumps in front of the spear and she dies. So because his true love died, which I didn't know that was part of the rules, he loses all of his power and goes away. Mm-hmm. So everything's back to normal. Everyone's united. But Sophie's dead. However, as Aggie's holding her friend and crying on her, she gives her a kiss. And then we find out that that's also, so now we have, now that's true love's kiss. Because we're told like friendship is the most truest of loves. So now Sophie's brought back and they're given the choice. Do you want to stay in this fantasy land where not everyone gets along? Or do you want to go back to that village where everyone hates you? And what do these dummies choose? To go back to the village. And the final scene is them being picked on, the end.
And being called witches, and their revenge is getting birds to shit.
Yeah.
A la Mel Brooks' High Anxiety on these trash people that are making fun of them.
Wow.
And then we get an arrow from Tedros burst through into their world, and we hear him saying he can't forget.
So I guess that would be the next one, is maybe like them being dragged out of their world for some reason. I don't know. Okay, just going through my notes, the opening scene is the two brothers fighting, and it seems like at first they're having fun, but then it goes left real fast. Like the bad brother wants to kill the good brother. And the dialogue between the two, if you closed your eyes, it sounded like pornography.
You love a girl.
It sounded very sexual.
But also in the opening, in the title credits, they tell us, long ago, blah, 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 these two brothers, one's good, one's evil. It's like, oh, we're just pillaging the most superficial remnants of any
it's so basic.
Random mythology, whether that's Cain or Abel or Romulus or Remus.
The good thing is the one actor plays both brothers, but the good version of the brother, I really liked his hair. I feel like if I can get mine to do that, I would wear it like that.
His hair did look good. He was dispatched rather quickly. And
the evil brother...
We're supposed to recognize Laurence Fishburne as the good brother at first because of the same robe that younger man is wearing.
Yeah.
And also Lady Lesso, Charlize Theron, and Professor Dovey, Kerry Washington, all only have one outfit.
Oh, we didn't even explain that. But before we get there, I wanted to say when the two brothers are younger, the evil one, we can tell he's evil because he's wearing like red eyeshadow. It looks so random. But we didn't mention, so Charlize Theron is the dean of the evil school, and Kerry Washington is the dean of the good school. Michelle Yeoh plays the beautification instructor for the good school.
Professor Anemone.
And then Kate Blanchett plays the narrator, but it's kind of done in a weird way because there's this like storybook that's being written in real time.
The Storian.
And everyone can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So the characters in the movie can hear this book being narrated, and it's by Kate Blanchett. Both Aggie and Sophie's moms look like hell.
Well, Sophie's mom is dead. So
But we see her, she's like bald. Like, why? And they do that to make a point of like, oh, but Sophie's hair is so beautiful. Again, that wig looks so crazy. And
that's the Rumpelstiltskin straw hair.
then they have Aggie's mom looking like a witch in this like hut.
She's supposed to, I guess.
I know, but it's like Aggie's so beautiful. Like, how does her mom look like a troll? Okay. I did think it does feel like it has a bigger budget. A lot of it does look kind of magical. Some of the CGI was not good, but one feature I did like is we're introduced when we first get to the school, these fairies. Mm-hmm. I thought those looked cool.
Yeah, they look better than the fairies in Maleficent.
But they're mean fairies. Mm-hmm. So again, right away as the audience, there's no sense that like there isn't something wrong at this school. Why are the good kids so awful?
It's very contradictory.
Yeah.
And of course there seems to be some kind of rhyme or reason for that. But again, it contradicts its contradictions because then Charlize Theron, they have classes in uglification.
The evil school, they're teaching these students that in order, like, you need to be ugly to be evil because it forces you to be intelligent. But then the most beautiful person in the movie, arguably, is Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Why would she look like that?
Why does she look like that? And then
Although her hair was funny because it was very inconsistent. I don't know if this was shot in segments, but her hair
is humidity.
It's so inconsistent.
The hairstyle she has is that of Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter in Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Another Tim Burton film that I kept thinking of during this was that not very good film with Ava Green, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I think the thing I hated the most about this story is why is Aggie fighting for Sophie?
Well, they cloak it in that way where if they have to prove they've been placed in the wrong schools and therefore can get a switch, and that the true love has to transpire between people from the opposite that are currently placed in opposite schools. So she thinks her ticket out is if Sophie falls in love with Tedros.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, it is sort of self-serving that Aggie wants her friend to find this thing, but I just felt like
But she's constantly pushing
Aggie is such a ride or die, and Sophie wasn't even thinking about her when she left the village in the first place.
Right. And, it's a good thing that Sophia Wylie gives, I think, is so watchable and is the only person that really kind of clicks with the character she's playing is this voice of reason. Because without her, this would be even worse than it is.
One interesting fact is there's a character named Gregor who kind of takes a liking to Aggie, and his character has nothing to do but seem kind of like feeble and kind of weak, and he's like the son of Prince Charming, but he doesn't want to be brave, and he wants to own a grocery store, and that actor looks so familiar to me, and that person was on season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. Their drag name was Scaredy Cat, and from what I recall, this person on the show identified as male and straight.
Yeah, I thought that they had a girlfriend. I thought that was the storyline for that person.
But they've changed their name, and I guess they're non-binary. But that was interesting. I did recognize the person.
We had to do a little research, though.
Yeah, but I thought that was cool. Then there's another extra who's part of the bad school who I swore was the comedian Yamanika Saunders.
Oh, no, that was
But she's not.
And then it mixes and matches all of these, fictional and historical elements. But what's his name? Tedros is supposed to be the son of King Arthur. And so King Arthur just let your kid bring Excalibur because he's whipping that around.
Sword, yeah.
Okay. And then there's references to Anastasia, the Russian princess, the daughter of Nicholas II from circa, when she supposedly wasn't assassinated with her family in 1918. I don't know. It just it doesn't feel medieval enough. And then when the young women are together at the school amongst themselves, I couldn't help but think it felt like a 90s YA film.
Well, I wanted to talk about that too. That the dialogue, it's really interesting because some characters are attempting, it sounds like they're trying to speak like maybe appropriate for the time period, but then other characters like Kerry Washington and Charlize Theron are just talking like themselves. And then Charlize sometimes has it's very inconsistent, but it feels like a hodgepodge. And then the way the two lead younger ladies are speaking, it sounds modern, but like dated because it sounds like 1990s. Which is obviously modern for that era, but then for this audience today, it felt a little played out.
The strange anachronisms, a poo-poo platter of cliches, not unlike something like The Mortal Instruments felt like in the wake of Hunger Games and Twilight.
There's a scene when Rafal comes back where he's covered in bees. And he looked exactly like, it looked like a scene from Candyman.
Candyman, yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
And then the soundtrack is really the key to understanding who they're targeting for the audience with this, with like Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish, both who are also used in the odd soundtrack selection of Do Revenge, another Netflix film.
I have so many notes about how much I couldn't stand how Sophie looked because she has two makeover scenes where she's supposed to be, I guess, like fierce and sexy, and it doesn't work. Like, this actor is not up for the task. She does this walk twice. It's like she's walking the runway. It does not work.
Or trying to be Ariana Grande. Yeah.
And I just wish they would have, especially paired against the actor playing Aggie, who's gorgeous and taller. I wish they would have cast like an Angelina Jolie looking young lady to play the evil one. Because I think they could have had her look like a princess, but then when she goes bad, it would have been like really cool. But watching this actor do Sophie, it was just uncomfortable because it's not giving what I think they think it's giving.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, when her makeup and the bob that she comes out with, like,
and those eyebrows, they fill in her. Oh my gosh,
it's bizarre.
It's distracting.
It's really bizarre.
I did think it's funny. So when Sophie sort of sells her soul to Rafal, it's explained that she's going to have to go through like a metamorphosis. So she gets really ugly and old first. And it was kind of amusing, but also that like makeup, like those practical effects, I thought looked kind of, they weren't someone's best work. It was very obvious that she was wearing like prosthetics.
Sure.
Which for a movie that feels like it had this kind of budget, I thought that was weird. Then at a point, Sophie tricks, because we're told that the good guys can only defend themselves. They can never attack someone. But then Sophie sort of antagonizes the good students, so they come and attack her. And she goes, ooh, gotcha. You broke the rules because you're attacking innocent people. We didn't do shit to you. So then all of the bad kids turn good and all the good kids turn bad. But all that means, and it's a long drawn out scene that looked kind of ridiculous and a waste of time, especially for this movie to be so damn long. All it means is their outfits turn from white to black and black to white.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Then they have a long fight scene, which I thought was not very well done.
It felt like a Harry Potter video game simulation that didn't map out all of the rooms, because I feel like we're stuck in the same places and seeing the same people looking the same.
Yep. That's my gripe. I feel like this movie is just a series of 10 words that they keep saying over and over again in different sequences, and then like 10 to 20 people that they just keep placing in like a couple of rooms. We get like ballroom dancing a couple times, but it's always like the students in a formation watching one of the teachers.
And then they're always having a general assembly. There's so many assemblies of which...
Where they're together.
Where Aggie shows up and is looking for Sophie, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, when all has been revealed and both schools are together and Charlize Theron is like, oh, good and evil united. You've been uniting.
Y'all done been like in the same multi-purpose room. So I don't understand why it took this. Also, at the point where they start fighting, when they switch from good to evil and the students are fighting, a version of the song Toxic is playing. But also, all of the staff members are turned into figurines. So if they didn't they already don't have anything to do. Like Michelle Yeoh has nothing to do.
She doesn't. It's kind of a bummer.
And then they turn them into figurines for like 35, 40 minutes. Like, okay.
But apparently Paul Feig likes her because she was the Christmas shop owner in Last Christmas.
Then to make Sophie even more unlikable, because she's not likable at any point in this film, like even at the end, when she agrees to like join forces with the bad guy, and he starts being really evil, she goes, I didn't want to hurt them. I just wanted to rule them. So it's like,
Said Donald Trump.
so it's like, I mean, so you're still kind of awful.
So you're
So you wanted to control people. I mean, okay.
And I want to follow you for across 6 films? No.
Yeah, this was so corny, so repetitive, which is a crime because I think it didn't need to be 2.5. Like,
No, 1, it's boring, and 2, it's dumb. So I don't know. It's okay to have dry spells, but there's just it doesn't even know how to formulate anything intelligent about really what it's trying to say about what it means to be good or bad.
this needed to be subversive, and I feel like you already mentioned, the character of Aggie is doing the best job of what I think the film should have been, which are these 2 young ladies who are introduced to this world where there are like, set roles for good and evil and what all these things mean, and they're tearing down those norms. And it could have been more provocative. And
You said something while we were watching it, like it's almost like it's trying to get there about these 2 modern women in this kind of archaic place, and they should be disrupting the system.
right, but only Aggie is the only one kind of questioning it.
But it just, then you hobble her by saying like, hey, I want to go back to my village, even though there's this hot guy that totally wants on me, but I want to go back to where I'm going to be called a witch and maybe murdered.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
I didn't read any of the Harry Potter books. I've only seen one of the movies, but I will say, like, the one Harry Potter film I saw, the first one,
Which is not one of the
it
better
did feel
ones.
magical. And the one thing I did say after we finished it was, it did make me, like, the storytelling made me want to follow these characters, even though I haven't thought to watch any of the other ones. I was curious where these characters end up. In this movie, again, could not care less about any of these characters.
But, you have a lot of fun with the adults in that film, the staff, like Maggie Smith and Alan Rickman and the recently deceased Robbie Coltrane. But
So if it's trying to, so this feels like, I don't know if this was made for Netflix specifically, but it's like, were they just thinking like, we're going to make our own Harry Potter series and make $1 billion? But it's like, if you're trying to do that, that's a fail.
Oh.
And then Cinderella, Sophie is not likable.
right.
So it's like, her wanting to be a princess and thinking she's good, it just feels like they're like, she's a villain, and it's written like a villain, right? Because she's
She just doesn't know it yet.
she doesn't know it yet.
Again, that's a nice subversive element, especially having the white girl do that, but then completely drops the ball.
Well, because I'm assuming maybe in the books further on she does become a villain, but to have me sit here for 2.5 hours and feel like I don't care where they end up is not good storytelling.
What about the wish fish?
Oh, then there's adding to the corniness. All the good students go to this like wishing well, and they wish for their true desire, and Aggie wishes that the student who like died in this well, who's providing the wishes, that she could be brought back. And that scene with that girl in her arms, like, you're the first person, it's just so basic.
Remedial.
I know this movie's not for me, but I also think like, why cast all these like really
Kind of incredible people.
if you're not trying to appeal to some adult? I don't know. This just feels like it's trying to do Harry Potter.
It's a wasted opportunity to try to say something meaningful, which is what genre film is all about, especially for YA audiences, which I'm assuming is kind of the intended.
What would you give this movie?
2, and I think that's being nice.
I didn't care for this at all.
It's a chore to sit through.
And it feels like a money grab. So for me, I would give it like 1.5. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.